All right, welcome. This is the Science of Getting Rich for Women podcast. I'm Jessica Marie, a radical money coach, helping you become rich from the inside out with or without debt.
It's
And,
amazing,
and
Jessica.
this is my co-host.
Hello. My name's Amy Bell, and I'm a master graphic artist and brand consultant. And I am here to support Jessica in talking about the science of getting rich. This book is extremely dear to my heart. Once you get over the what is it, 1920s or 1900s version of it, but it's got so many great nuggets, and that's what we're going to be talking about on this little podcast we got going here.
Oh my gosh. I am so excited about this, Amy, because it is time. It is time for women to rise up and get rich. And even the sound of that, like get rich, it sounds very masculine. And I know a lot of women, including myself, have a little bit of resistance to that word getting rich. We can soften it. We can say becoming rich or becoming wealthy. But the bottom line is we have a right to be rich. And we need to be rich if we really want to expand into all that we are, to unfold our talents and our soul and really live the most expressed and fulfilling life. Now, I was introduced to this book at the end of last year, and there was one quote that had me hook, line, and sinker. And it's in the beginning of chapter 2. Maybe I should read that because that really kind of sets up this, how this all came about. Do you believe there's a science of getting rich? Like, I'd never heard of this before. But this book actually says that there is a science of getting rich, and it is an exact science like algebra or arithmetic. There are certain laws that govern the process of acquiring riches. And once a person learns and obeys these laws, she will get rich with mathematical certainty. So when I heard that, when I read that, I was like, are you kidding me? It's such a bold statement. Let me learn these laws because I want to get rich. Like I want to experience wealth and abundance. I want a life where there's no limitations. Like I don't have to think twice about wanting to give generously and spontaneously or go shopping. So I was hook, line, and sinker. And I know, Amy, you've been studying this book even long before myself, right?
Mhm. Yeah. Well, I know people who've been studying this book for years, like 20 years, and they're still looking at it, and their book is covered in notes and highlights, and they refer to it. This book is not a book that you read once and you put it down and you got it, right? That's why we're doing this podcast, because on the journey, you have to keep rereading. I mean, you can be locked into a paragraph for days and just blow your mind on what that is. Like you just said, there's a science to getting rich. Oh, who knew? What? And then your mind goes, wait a second, I think I need to pay attention to this book. And it's not a big book, which means the science of getting rich is not like a huge thing. It's really a good read. It's a short read, but you have to keep rereading it and rereading it. And so you jump to chapter 2. Woo, you went like quantum leaping into chapter 2 over there. So I just wanted to read this one paragraph of chapter 1, the opening
Mm.
paragraph, ladies. Okay, listen to this. Whatever may be said in praise of poverty, the fact remains that it is not possible to live a really complete or successful life unless one is rich. I was in a workshop yesterday, and that little quote was put up on the projector, and it triggered people. It triggered men, it triggered women. I'll tell you this though, it did trigger more women than men. And they were trying to soften it, like you said. Why don't we soften it with abundance? why don't we soften it with I want to be rich in all aspects of my life, in my spiritual life, in my home life, all of these, like I can be rich in those things, and then we'll sneak in financial at the end so we don't get struck by lightning by God or something like that. Like, this is why like this book is so profound, because it's actually giving us, and now that you've rewritten it for women, us as women, permission to actually say, I want to be rich.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I know women have, including myself, much easier and more comfort level, saying that, like, I'm rich in love, I'm rich in friendships. I, have an abundance of peace in my life. That's great. That's wonderful. And also, we live in a physical body, in a physical world, and we need physical things to survive, to use, to develop our skills and our talents and our abilities. So we need money. We need
Yeah, we
money.
sure do need money. And the example yesterday was so interesting. It just stopped people in their tracks. Friendship is free. I don't need to be rich to have friendship. And then it was noted that you just said you live in a physical body. So if you don't feed that physical body, what happens? What happens, ladies? Like, put it in the comments, you die. And so how can you be in a friendship with a dead person, unless of course you're a medium, but that's another conversation. But like, your physical body needs money to actually live and be on this planet. And so in order to be a friend, in order for you and I to be friends, I need to feed myself to actually talk to you, and vice versa. And we need to be healthy so that we can stay alive long, to have a long friendship. And same with love. Like, I show my love by giving. And yes, I can give my time, and yes, I can give it my love, but ultimately I want to give things sometimes. Like for birthdays, I want to give you something. I want to be able to give to charities. I want to be able to give, and that also costs money, because time is money.
Yeah.
So if I'm giving my time, then that is costing me money. If I'm giving a gift, that's costing me money. And if you're in love, like this, there's also, it goes into that. I think it's in one of these chapters anyway. In order for you to um, give love in a way on this physical planet, you're eventually going to have to give something. So if you can't go on a date with your man, if you can't afford to go to a movie, if you can't afford to pay to be on a dating site, if you can't afford to go anywhere, put gas in your car to drive somewhere, then where's the love? Like, you're just sitting in your room here with your four walls that have nothing on them.
You know, as you're talking, I'm thinking about the paradigm that we have been conditioned to believe about money, especially as women, you know, humans in general, but we as women have been conditioned to believe that it's better to give than receive, and to be a good woman is to be humble and to be satisfied and content with what you have. It's not to desire more, because money is the root of all evil, and rich people are greedy, and you don't want to be like them. And that paradigm, it has to die, because it's not true. It's actually preventing us from expanding into greater levels of wealth and prosperity. You were talking about um, becoming rich, and how, in order to live a really complete and successful life, we have to be rich, because we need money to do things. And he also says that the basis of all human advancement must be the science of getting rich. The object of all life is development. We cannot develop and expand and express into greater levels of wealth and prosperity if we don't have money to use, because we need money to buy the things, to pay for the courses, to invest in the education. And he says, To be really rich does not mean to be satisfied or contented with a little. No person ought to be satisfied with a little if she is capable of using and enjoying more. The purpose of nature is the advancement and development of life. So it's time to wake up to this, to the truth, right? This is the truth. And that's why we are so passionate about having this conversation and getting this out to you so that you can wake up to this truth. And the truth will not only set you free, but it will freaking make you rich. Now, there is a whole process to this, and that's why we are using this book as a study, because you can read this book, you can consume the knowledge within it, but it's not going to make you rich unless you integrate the principles. And it's the integration on a daily basis that will begin to make you rich. This is powerful stuff, ladies. This is so freaking powerful. And if you already have a copy, I know many of you have a copy sitting on your bookshelf somewhere, and you've totally forgotten about it because for some reason it just didn't connect with you. It wasn't calling to you. And now you might be hearing us talk about this, or you may have seen one of us on social media, sharing this, and you're like, oh yeah, I've got that book. That's what happened, Amy, when I put this out to the ladies in my membership. I'm like, hey, I'm going to start a study group. I'm studying this book, who's interested? Almost all of them already had the book on their shelf, either never read it or read it before and just never really integrated it. It's time we integrate these principles, because he says in this book, failure is impossible. That's another bold claim he makes.
Yeah.
Failure is impossible. It is an exact science, and failure is impossible.
If you follow the certain way within this book that it's talking about, right? Yeah.
A certain
I think
way.
a lot of women, let me just backtrack a little bit.
Yep.
There were women in this workshop I was in, they want to get rich. Like they are fine using the word rich. They love using the word rich. They're like, I want to get rich, hands up over here. And that is so cool because they've sort of skipped over this whole weirdness with the word, right?
Mm.
And when I was designing the cover of this book, it's like I was looking on Amazon and all the different book covers are there and they all have rich as the big word. And there was a little part of me that said, maybe we should make the word rich not so big, but it has to be big. And on the backdrop of this sort of more feminine looking cover that we've got here, it feels good. I can I can do so much. The more money that I have, the richer I am, the more service I can be to humanity, the more service I can be. And it was Whitney Hammond that told me this because I was like, oh, she said when I first met her, I help people build massive wealth. And I was like, oh, like massive wealth was just not sitting well with me. And then I said, really? That's what you say? And she said, yes, massive wealth. And and she said, the more wealth I build for me, the more I can help humanity. The more wealth you build, the richer you get, the more you can help humanity. And basically, we're all here to serve, in some way. That's the whole reason we're on this planet, is to serve one another, to be of service to one another, not servant in a bad way, but like to help humanity, advance humanity, expand humanity with our ideas that are up in our noggin. And then they come down into our subconscious, they become a desire, and then we shoot them out and make them something. This book was up in your imagination. And then it transferred itself into your subconscious as a desire. We got to do this. Like this has got to come out. And then of course there's money associated with producing the book and getting it up online and then to put it out there into the world for women. Like you said, women had this book on their shelf, Wallace D. Wattles version, the green book, the black book, whatever version you've got. And if you read that first paragraph, after that first one we just read, the next one is, no man can rise to his greatest possible height in talent or soul development unless he has plenty of money. So then switching that for me was like, oh geez, here we go. Another dude book of guys getting rich, and the conversation doesn't even include us. So now the way it's been changed through you is no woman can rise to her greatest possible height in talent or soul development unless she has plenty of money, unless she has
Mm.
her soul development. No woman. So now the conversation is for us. This book should never be left on a bookshelf anymore. For any woman who picks this book up, it's now here on your desk always, or get another one and put it on your bedside table. Get another one and keep it in your car. Like this is like the most little book. It can fit in your bag. Just keep it and highlight it and start listening to it and
Yeah.
following the principles. I'm not um as rich as I want to be, and every person wants to be more.
Mm.
So the science of getting rich is about expansion, like you said. And in order, like I've been studying this for about a year off and on, um and that's not enough. People have been studying this for 20 years, and that's not enough because we're always expanding, always growing. And that's why we need to keep this with us so that we can, keep looking at it. Every paragraph, women develop their mind, soul, body by making use of things. Of course we do.
Yeah.
Look
It's
around your room in your office right now and tell me what didn't what didn't cost money.
yeah. Yeah. And money, or the lack thereof it, will literally become a barrier for your expansion.
Well, the
I
lack of it,
too,
yeah. Yeah, the
I
lack of
too, um, you know, am not as rich as I desire to be. And there will be times when something will come up, an opportunity or an idea, and it's like, oh my gosh, I come alive, my soul just lights up and I'm like, God, I would love to do that. Like that just like I'm there. I close my eyes and I'm already there. I'm already doing the thing. I could see it, right? It's like, oh, but then the lack of money to maybe experience that thing becomes a barrier to the soul's expression and expansion. He writes here, um, every person naturally wants to become all that she is capable of becoming. This desire to realize innate possibilities is inherent in human nature. Success in life is becoming what you want to be. You can become what you want to be only by making use of things. And you can only have the free use of those things as you become rich enough to buy them. Therefore, an understanding of the science of getting rich is the most essential of all knowledge. The most essential. They should be teaching this in school. If this is the most essential knowledge of all human advancement and unfoldment and development, this should be in the curriculum of high school students' education,
yeah.
right? Like, hello,
Yeah.
that's another topic. I could go down a rabbit hole, and that whole thing is in my opinion, needs to be flipped upside down. But he goes on to say that there is nothing wrong with wanting to be rich, that the desire for riches is really the desire for a richer, fuller, and more abundant life. And that desire is praiseworthy. The person who does not desire to live more abundantly is abnormal, is
Oh,
ab-
bold statement, Wallace D. Wattles. Bold statement, Mr. Wattles. But yeah, I think the first time you read through this book, if you've never read it before, there's a lot of bold stuff that's going to get your mind going because it's like giving you a free ticket to think this way and not be ashamed to think this way. Because being an artist for 30 years, the starving artist was a thing. Back in the day, artists were not paid. Rembrandt, all the big greats of the planet were rich after they died, not in life. They were beckoned by the king to come and paint, and maybe they were lucky enough to get some cash. But for the most part, like most of the artists, and even to this day, that has stuck. So if you want to be a great artist, you need to be starving. And then in the magazine that I created, I tried to turn that upside down, to be okay with doing something that you love and being creative and being paid for it. And then the other thing is spiritual material conflict, which I think is meaningful to your birth numbers. We'll get into birth numbers maybe later on in the day, but
We love
um,
numbers. We love numbers and color.
we love numbers, we love color, and we love talking about that stuff too. But spiritual material conflict is an important thing to think about, because in order to be spiritual, you need to be pious, you need to be humble, you need to be broke. And we also did another exercise in this class yesterday. It's so funny that this happened yesterday, because we
Yeah.
were talking about Mother Teresa. And most people on this planet believe Mother Teresa was um,
Same.
she is a saint, but they also thought she was broke, that she lived in poverty. But
Oh,
when Mother Teresa died, she had over, I think it was, somebody Googled it, $1.5 million in her bank account.
oh, wow.
She traveled by private jet because her time was important. She recognized that she needed money to generate money, give and receive, in order to be the saint that she became. To help the impoverished, she needed money. To empower the impoverished, she needed money. And she needed to teach them how to do that as well, right? So it's it's interesting how that's, in past lives we talk about the fact that if you were into the healing arts, if you were spiritual in nature, that you had to be giving it away for free, because you can't hold on to this knowledge and then charge for it. And so now we have all of these healing people out there, where there's like mediums. I remember I went to a medium. Oh my gosh, I think I was 20. So, 10 years ago. No, it wasn't 10 years ago. It was a long time ago. But the medium at the door, when she was leaving, held her wallet open like this.
Mhm.
We had to place our cash into her wallet. She could not physically touch the money,
Oh,
because if she touched it, that meant she charged for her services. And even, I think it was like probably 30 odd years ago, you were not allowed to charge for those services.
says who?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. But she was like, that was my first introduction to a medium who would talk to you about, like, talk to the dead, right? And so because she was giving away a spiritual connection, a divine channeling that she had, it may have been her paradigm, it may have been the government's paradigm at the time, I can't remember. But either way, she held her wallet open and she did not touch that money. And so at one point, witches were burned at the stake. Witches were just an extension of a channel, like they could tell the future. Because they were having an open connection to the divine, they could they could heal people with medicine that other people didn't know about. If you did anything outside of the church, you were burned at the stake and called a witch. Yet your community was calling on you to heal someone who was dying in their bed, but once you healed them, well, now you're a witch. And so let's put her in the center of the town and burn that baby. So there is ingrained stuff that comes in our DNA with the concept that being spiritual and being wealthy or being rich is not cannot coexist. But then when you really dig into this material, and you even start reading little bits from the Bible, like, it is, you are here as a divine connection to source, to God, to whatever you want to call it. And you did not decide to come to this planet to be impoverished. Like, everyone's given the opportunity to become rich, and it doesn't matter, as Wallace says, whether you're in a place, like in a location, you can move to another location, or if you don't have the mindset, you can get the mindset. Like, yeah, it's, this information is going to trigger some people when they hear it. but I invite you throughout the course of our podcast to keep an open mind as we talk about this. And if you do have comments or you have something that you want to raise, then put it in the comment section of the YouTube channel here and we'll talk about it. Like nothing is off the table. If it's triggering you, it's triggering you. So let's figure out why and maybe we learn from one another in this conversation.
Yeah, exactly. That's why we're doing this. It's all about growth and expansion and elevation. So in this first and opening chapter, your right to be rich. This is shifting the paradigm. This is completely going to be flipping things upside down from what we have been conditioned to believe about wealth and our right to be rich. He talks about that, we live in body, mind, and spirit, and we need money in order to unfold all three. And he says that, a person cannot live fully in their body without good food, comfortable clothing, warm shelter, and freedom from excessive toil. Rest and recreation are also necessary to her physical life. And she cannot live fully in mind without books and time to study them, without opportunities for travel and observation, without intellectual companionship. And then to live fully in the soul, a woman must have love. And the expression of love is often frustrated by poverty. We need money to buy the things and do the things that our souls desire. Period. You want to learn something, you have to spend money to either buy the book or go to the class, you know, and love. I love this one about the spirit, and to live fully in spirit is to embody love and to express love. And it is often frustrated by poverty. It's like, especially as women, we love giving, we love making people happy, and being able to give spontaneously and generously feels amazing. And I know that, when we're at certain events, especially charity events where they're maybe like the one you were at, where they're raising money for a great cause. And you're like, oh my gosh, this is so amazing. Like, look at all these women coming together to raise money for an organization that is doing good in the world. And it's like, like if money was no limitation, you'd be just, here's 1,000, here's 1,000, like no problem, like we want to be able to do that. But when we don't have the money to do that, we can't do that. So we can't express and experience that joy of love and giving. This one here I highlighted because to me it was like another bold statement. The person who has nothing to give cannot fill her place as a spouse or parent, as a citizen, or as a human being. It is in the use of material things that a woman finds full life for her body, develops her mind, and unfolds her soul. It is therefore of supreme importance to be rich. We got to be
Yeah.
rich. It's time to be rich. It's time to get rich. And that is your right. That is your responsibility. And that's where we're going. That's where we're going with this conversation. And if you want to join us, this this actually doesn't cost anything. I mean, you need internet to be able to listen to this, but you can get free Wi-Fi anywhere, so that's a great thing. That's where we're going with this conversation. If you stick with us over the next weeks, months, however long this conversation is going on, we are going to be dissecting the material in this book in such a way that supports you and your growth and your expansion into rising into greater levels of wealth and prosperity. We're not just consuming this content, we are studying it, we are integrating it so that we can become rich. Right, Amy?
Yeah, absolutely. I think One of the things that really caught me in this book was the conversation about helping people in a crisis, or helping people that are financially not where they want to be. And in giving this book in the PDF format away, Jessica, you are opening up this content to everyone who has access to um, a means to read it online. And so perhaps Amazon in your area does not have this book available. I invite you to, in the comments, we'll put a way to connect with Jessica, and then she can get you the PDF version somehow. If you know someone who's got an email, if you have one yourself, this the material in this book, if you want the physical form, is available on Amazon. But if that's not an option for you right now, there is a PDF available for you. We want every woman on this planet to have access to this material in some way. And right now, the means that we can get it to you in is a PDF or in this physical form. And so I really highly suggest that if you are wanting the PDF, because you like to read online, or you have some sort of reader that way, then reach out to Jessica and she can get you that. And if you like to make notes like I do, highlight stuff, then it is on Amazon in many markets around the world, but just check and see if it's available on yours. And if it's not, we'll find a way to get you the physical copy. Like, we'll get it and we'll mail it and we'll do whatever we can to get it to you so that you can have the option to physically read the book. Um, yeah, I think helping it, we're Jessica and I are on this journey as well. We are reading it, we are studying it. We said many times we're building the plane as we fly this baby. And so as we use the content and we tell stories about how we're implementing the content, I think this will be inspiring to other people, and hopefully you can start putting in the comments like how this content is changing your life. We want this to be a very much interactive. We've got big plans for this. It's gonna, start showing up in other places, other platforms and stuff like that. But for now, we're opening up the conversation here on the YouTube, and we will continue to chat with people in this way. So be interactive, ask questions,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think
exactly.
that needs to happen.
If you have a desire for more wealth, more money, then stay plugged into this conversation, because we are going to support you and guide you in in your becoming rich. I'll just end with this last quote here from chapter 1. And Mr. Wattles says, "It is perfectly right that you should desire to be rich. If you are a normal man or woman, you cannot help in doing so. It is perfectly right that you should give your best attention to the science of getting rich, because it is the noblest and most necessary of all studies. If you neglect this study, you are derelict in your duty to yourself, to God, and to humanity. You can render God and humanity no greater service than to make the most of yourself."
Jessica, I cannot wait for the audio version where you read the book, because that is a very nice voice to fall asleep to, or drive to in the car.
It's coming, Abe. It's coming. I'm just trying to get this little cold out of my throat, and as soon as it's gone, I'm gonna start it.
Well, we'll just do some throat chakra work with you, my darling, and it will come out in, yeah, it sounds amazing when you read it. So I'm excited for that. I'll just press play and keep it running every time I get in the car.
Well, I listen to the audio every morning. I have the book as well, but I listen to the audio, and I actually have the book in my hand, so I'm kind of doing both. This stuff has got to get in. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. Press play and go to sleep and allow osmosis to do its thing, get it into your
Yeah,
subconscious mind and
exactly.
start to change your belief system. Like, this guy has a belief system and he was rich. So let's adopt that belief system and just move on and keep this conversation going. Thanks for inviting me to have this chat with you, Jessica.
Oh my gosh, it is such a delight to have you with me, Amy, and we'll be back next week for episode 3. We'll see
Great.
you then. Bye.
Bye.